Hello, welcome to FCCtv. I'm Eileen Berger. I'm a volunteer with the Fitchburg Cultural Council, and we are very happy to have this television program that allows us to highlight some of the artists in our community and the events that are coming. We have a really busy day today. We really have some exciting things on today. We're going to start out with a discussion of students and social issues, which is being put on among a number of schools in the area. I'd like to turn it over now to Dr. Danette Day, who is co-chair of Fitchburg Abolitionist Park, Dr. Pamela Hill, who is Director of Development and Outreach, and Ronald Rollins, a student at Longsjo Middle School, who's involved in all of this. So to start things out, let's talk about the whole project. Danette.
Thank you for having us, Eileen. So basically, this project it's in preparation for a performance that's going to happen at the Abolitionist Park on June 18th. And Dr. Hill and I have spent some time together, both educators, and at some point we had talked about the idea that we should be doing some work. In her retirement, and me, I'm still at the university, I'm teaching the next generation of teachers, and we both have an affinity for younger students. So we had been chatting and we thought, all right, what can we do? Who will fund what we want to do? And we have this great park. So we decided that I would begin by using the resources of a class that I teach, an honors class that I teach. And those resources, some of them were funding from the Dean's Anti-Racism Fund, but also it was having students older students, undergraduates, who might be interested to work with younger students in the schools. So we collaborated with two lead teachers, one at Longsjo, one at Francis Drake, and Ronald is a student at Longsjo. So that's really the whole idea of it, was to get undergraduates, adults who really are doing the work of social justice in the community through the Abolitionist Park and the Forge Theater. And Dr. Hill is a representative of the Forge Theater and obviously a former dean of education, and she's been doing some really good work with these students. So I'm going to let her talk about the specific project called Students and Social Issues.
I'd be interested in knowing how you came down on that project, how you decided to go in that direction.
We're just doing our chatting that we do, and then we end up with this like epiphany aha moment and said, let's get public school children. And at first we were thinking of high school, and then we went to middle school because we said, this is where you get them. This is where it begins. This is where they care about social justice and equality. And we knew that ribbon cutting was coming up, and that what would we do? How about some kind of a theater production? So it's the Abolish Park, Forge Theater Lab, Longsjo Middle School, and of course Francis Drake, the great female abolitionist school. This thing started in September by choosing the schools, then going for the funding. Then in January, the teachers wrote the curriculum. February and March, they were teaching the curriculum. The students were interacting with Danette's students. They were writing poems where I'm from, beautiful poems about themselves to start to find their own voice, get some inner kinds of things. I just have to plug this book. We rise, we resist, we rise our voices. And what happened with Danette's grant, it paid in every single student involved in this, and there are 30, got this book personally, as well as the faculty that worked with them. And in this kind of amazing book are poems and things, and all about all different kind of cultures. So it's kind of been a focal point for the students to do all that. And then we started.
That's wonderful. Is there any place that our audience can get copies of that book?
Just Us books. It's called Just Us Publications.
Just Us books. Okay.
Yeah, and I happened to receive it as an opportunity to look at it in the Amelia what is it, Amelia? It's our Cheerio, whatever. It's our library at Fitchburg State.
Yes.
Somebody had handed it to me, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is a beautiful book. And then I was like, we need to make sure that young people have this book, because if I was a young person and had that book, I think my life would be very different. It just has a lot of information that's empowering, talks about the moment, music. Did you enjoy your book, Ronald?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Have you looked at it since you got it from the field trip?
No, not really.
Okay. All right.
Not to put you on the spot.
We really did. We gave everybody
Yeah.
a book, and when they received it, and I'm sure at some point during the summer when he's quiet and thinking about what he's achieved, I'm sure he's going to pick this book up.
I'm sure it looks like a beautiful book. So this is a big project, though. It's not just one school. It's not just one age group. How many people are involved, or can you talk a bit about the size of it?
So there's 24 students at Francis Drake, and 14 of them are going to perform. And then there are 6, and 5 are going to perform. And the Longsjo students are what we would call the framework. They're the modern people. And I'm going to let Ronald talk a little bit more of that. And then the Francis Drake are being the historical figures. And at first we thought, well, they'll write monologues, the students will write monologues. But then as we were working, and they're working separately, they won't meet till the day of the performance.
So there's no practice.
They're rehearsing. I'm
okay,
with Francis Drake 3 days a week, and I'm with them 1 day a week.
But it'll only come together at the.
That's right.
Wow, that's exciting.
So the different teachers and I stand in for the other ones, saying where they're standing. They're going to be real professionals at the end of this.
Yeah.
But what we decided is that the monologue concept, and these are students giving me the feedback, would be more boring than if they're interacting. So the modern students ask the historical figures questions. They will be holding their script. It's way too much to memorize. What we want the students to do is to be authentic about it. And there's these things where they'll comment on, like, Rosa Parks, that's terrible. I can't believe you had to give up your. So there's this kind of thing about, and that's how they're learning about social justice, by listening to those kinds of things. But I think, Ronald, you should
You
talk
were
about.
interested, Ronald, you were interested. You wanted to know more about abolitionists because we have such a history of that here in this town. So what have you learned about abolitionists so far?
Well, I learned that how some people, like, for example, Mr. Snow, I don't know his full name, I forgot it, Benjamin Snow, how he was a part of helping people, like slaves of the abolitionists, and how
So the abolitionists wanted to get rid of slavery.
yeah.
Yeah. And then there were other people who said, no, they're our property. So what do you think about that?
Well, I think they really could have actually helped, but their decision wasn't really good. It was really bad.
Not to help.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there were people that did, and those are the people we honor. We will honor by building a park, and this park is to honor the men and women in Fitchburg who really did decide that they might give up their own safety and well-being to make sure that other human beings had every other freedom that every human being should have, right?
Is
Which is a great
Abolitionist
thing
Park
to do.
still under
We are getting so close. You know,
construction?
you know, it's interesting because I think this might lead in quickly into the next piece that you have funded. Right now we have just laid down all of the bricks that we received donations for. We put in our flag and the flagpole. We will have everything ready to go for this ribbon cutting ceremony, except the mural. Now, the mural, which is a piece that the Fitchburg Cultural Council has funded, as you see on the fence there will be a mural. And on Juneteenth, which is going to be June 18th, we will celebrate. Usually it's June 19th, but that's Father's Day, it's a Sunday. So June 18th, Saturday, from 10 to 12, at Snow Street, 42 Snow Street, we will have the ribbon cutting ceremony. And at that time, we will make sure that people know who the artist is. We've put out a request for a proposal. It is due June 10th, and we will have a panel that sits down and does the selecting of who will create a mural to depict the history of the abolitionist movement.
Well,
in
this is all
Fitchburg.
very exciting, the way it's coming together.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a wonderful thing for the community. And I can't wait to see, you know, as it all comes together. And I imagine this is not a one-year project, is it? Is this something you're thinking about continuing on into the...
We will do different things at
Yes.
different times, but the park will be there to be utilized for a number of events. But Juneteenth will always be the real big event for the community. So,
yes,
yeah.
I think that's
And-
wonderful.
And if I can add for the future, is that, for example, Dr. Day and Simone Blake are teaching an alpha class in the park in September that I'm going to sign up for. Can I, if we have time, can
Sure,
can
yes,
Ronald
yes,
talk,
yes.
talk
Yes, of
about the
course.
premise of it and talk about your time?
Yeah, what are you doing in the play?
Well, basically, me and another kid built this time machine so we could look back at history about abolitionist people.
So you built a time machine, and you're going to take the audience back in history with you?
Yeah.
So if everybody who's listening tonight hears that and they would like to experience that experience with Ronald and his peers, I know I'm going to be there. So please join us on Saturday, June 18th,
Yeah.
right? At where?
At the Abolitionist Park.
At the
Abolitionist
Abolitionist
Park.
Park,
Yeah.
42 Snow Street.
Well,
Yeah.
I think that's really exciting. So, well, I want to thank you for
Thank you.
being with us today and enlightening us about this project, because I think it's something wonderful, and I'm sure we'll be hearing about it more and the wonderful things that will happen over the years.
Yeah.
So,
Thank you for having us.
so thank you very much. We're going to take a break, and then we're going to come back with Sally Cragin and some additional exciting things that are going on in the arts community.
Fitchburg Open Studios is now accepting registration for local artists from Fitchburg and the surrounding area who want to open up their studio or pop up in a space downtown for the annual free art tour. Register at fitchburgopenstudios.com. The deadline is July 1st. Save by registering by June 1st. Check out all of our upcoming as well as FCC-funded and general community events by going to the Fitchburg Cultural Council webpage on fitchburgmass.gov.
The Fitchburg Cultural Council has awarded more than $53,000 in grants in 2022, supporting 52 local arts and culture projects, including performances, public art installations, and programs designed to improve the quality of life here in North Central Massachusetts. The funded projects include a collaboration between local schools and theater groups to educate students about the city's role, for example, in the abolition of slavery, as well as a summer concert series at Coggeshall Park and the Upper Common, public art installations, and many, many more things in the creative economy. Your Cultural Council is committed to supporting a vibrant community of artists, and we will continue to spread the news about all the wonderful things happening in our city here as a growing cultural destination. So follow us on social media and tune in to FCCtv every month to learn more about what your Cultural Council is doing.
How much time do we have before it comes on?
And I got your email, CC Stewart. We're right there, CC Stewart Camp, the book.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm meeting with Catherine tomorrow. We had to wait for names from the city.
Hi, this is Eileen Berger again, back with the Fitchburg Cultural Council on FCCtv. We just spoke with local producers of the Students and Social Issues agenda. Very exciting. And now for something totally different. We'll be meeting with a local leader who has been instrumental in the arts in this community for a long time. Sally Cragin writer, dramatist, and chair of the Stratton Players, and a council member at large of the Fitchburg Cultural Council. Where to begin?
I'm a city councilor in Fitchburg.
City councilor, okay.
Yeah. Where to begin? So,
right.
Congratulations on having the Fitchburg Cultural Council having a show of this type. This really engages audience beyond Fitchburg, and I'm always happy when I come across it on FCTv, and then now I'm like, oh, well, I can just stream it. So this is really important what you're doing, because there's a lot of interconnection with the arts. But the main thing we can talk about to begin with, because we've got 15, is Shakespeare in the Parks. For the first time ever, the Twin Cities is having Shakespeare in our parks.
New York, watch out.
Oh, Stratford upon Avon, we are Stratton upon Nashua.
Oh, wow.
So we've got, I last year thought we have these beautiful parks. We have Gateway Park and we have Leominster, and Stratton. Really part of what we're doing is having theater in as many communities as we can while we work on Lucy's Barn, which is our building next to the Fitchburg Library and the Fay Club. And the notion was, well, let's give people like enough Shakespeare to make them really curious and laughing. So I've written a show. I say it's written mostly by William Shakespeare. I have taken bits and pieces, the 7 Ages of Man speech, which the actors sort of act out, and then the premise is that Mrs. Shakespeare has come all the way to Fitchburg and Leominster, and William is not with her, and he was supposed to be here. So she has a troupe of actors.
I thought they didn't get along anyway, Mrs. Shakespeare and William. Is that true? Or
I've read all kinds of biographies, and it is unclear. However, they did have children together, and they knew each other from basically, childhood, his youth. So she has to manage an acting company, and the actors are all, pretty loopy, and they've been on the road for a long time, and they're really upset about this. And one of them has memorized the entirety of King Lear and wants to perform that. So there's a lot of jollity that happens, and how our log line for this is sword play, word play, and the play within a play. From Midsummer Night's Dream. So I direct, along with Jessie Olson, of new Fitchburg Cultural Alliance chair, formerly of Fitchburg Art Museum, and here is a picture of our sword fights. So we have, like I said, this is Gateway Park. Okay. Chelsea Patras, who a lot of people know, she's the executive director of CHN 9. Kristen King, a new member from Worcester. And they have a sword fight with umbrellas because they get upset at each other. And poor Mrs. Shakespeare has to deal with these quarreling actors, along with putting on some scenes.
So they're not going to use, in the real play, they're not going to use real swords or anything. It's going to be in umbrellas.
Or if they pick up a back scratcher, we'll see.
I see. That'd be funny.
That is funny. So we've rehearsed with all kinds of stuff. And the Thurston Consort, which is another beneficiary of Fitchburg Cultural Council, is opening the show.
Oh.
Early music, Elizabethan music, will precede. So the shows are June 5th, 1:30 to 3:30 in Leominster at Carter Park. And that's a Sunday. And on Saturday, June 11th, 1:30 and 3:30 at Gateway Park, Sheldon Street in Fitchburg. And it's really, it's free. Suggested donation is $10. Kids with an adult are free, but just come, pay what you can, and just come and enjoy.
So we'll begin with music by the Thurston Consort.
Yes.
They're marvelous, I think. And then
yes.
and then you'll have your presentation. I think that's marvelous.
It's so,
Yeah.
I'm so excited because I love theater where there's a meal attached to it, and in the fullness of time, when we develop Lucy's Barn, there's the Fay Club, dinner and a show. But I also love theater that's out of doors, because that's exciting. You have nature as your backdrop, and the actors are all really funny. We've been working on projection. So people at Gateway, there are nice terraces to sit on. But by all means, bring a lawn chair, bring a picnic, and make a day of it.
Mm-hmm. So tell me about Swan Hope Press.
So Swan Hope Press, it was sort of the culmination of many conversations with a really brilliant artist and lovely person, Catherine Swanty. And we have the first book that we did together, and thank you to the Cultural Council, because we became Swan Hope Press after this book. This is the Therapy Cat book, which did not exist on planet Earth before we put it together. So I wrote the words, Kathy did the pictures, and it's how to turn your cat into a therapy cat. And these are amazingly beautiful pictures that she did. They're watercolors.
They are, yes.
Yeah. So this fellow over here, his name was Joe, and he had stage 4 cancer, and he was a dementia patient locally. And he loved cats, and with cats he would speak. And this is my cat, Wendell Cat, we would bring.
So did your cat have to have special training for this?
You have to choose a cat. I mean, the book really explains it's learning about how to evaluate your cat. And you can certainly start with a kitten, but we adopt senior cats in my household because we like things from the scratch and dent shelf. And a kitty that's got some years on it, we never adopt a cat under 10 years old because they've had a home, they need a home. An older cat is calmer, is trained, is usually very well socialized, but we have a kitten in my family too, so we're working with him. We are at Fitchburg Public Schools, usually on Mondays at Rheingold, different schools. Kids read to the cats and dogs, and we have a rabbit. But with a therapy cat, a child who might be on the autism spectrum might be put off by a larger animal. So they might kind of retreat if there's a large dog, but a cat is not an animal that moves quickly or is excitable. And I've seen so many kids, on various stages of the spectrum, to nonverbal to very verbal, really improve their reading and comprehension, and that's what teachers tell us. So we've got pages. So here, there's sort of a checklist of what to do and how to start. I mean, we've worked with developmentally challenged adults, and we've got. You need a carrier for your cat, you need a harness, you need to practice. And we're going to be, my group is called Be Positive Therapy, Pets, and Community Education. Swan Hope Press, which is right here, and with an ISBN number, so we can have it in bookstores. And we have it at Preppy Pet on John Fitch, and we have it as a fundraiser for Ahimsa Haven, and also at Concepts Art Studio, which is Kathy's studio in Leominster.
Well, to learn to use your cat for therapy, the book is great, but is there a place you go to work with your cat, or do you do this mostly at home?
Well, we recommend, again, if local readers are reading, reach out to us, because we actually have an application. And I encourage people, get your cat used to a harness, maybe get your cat used to being in a carrier and in the car, and then take your cat for a visit. If you have a friend who's willing, and it doesn't have to be an older person, it could be anyone, but just getting the cat used to going someplace different, sitting on a couch. We recommend for small animals a low-sided basket, something that the animal can feel solid. If my cat's on my lap, he's really comfortable because he knows my legs, but when he's meeting someone new, if he's in his blanket, on his blanket, in his basket, it's a lot easier. So starting with friends is good. Our process is a multi-step, and first is application, second is basically an observation. So we sit together for 90 minutes with our curriculum, and then we go directly into an observation, either at a residential care facility or a school or the library. We've been at Fitchburg Library the first Saturday of every month since 2014. Yeah. Every first Saturday, not counting COVID. But
talk about some of the other books you've published.
You bet.
I've only been in town 4 years, but I've seen,
Wow.
I've followed you in amazing books.
Thank you. Well, the first book was the amazing adventures of CC Sewer Cam, closed circuit sewer cam. I think I sent an image that Kathy did of the front cover. I don't know if you guys, there it is. So the further amazing adventures of CC Sewer Cam, and this was done for DPW Day, which Fitchburg did for many years with the Department of Public Works. And we pulled together a book, Kathy and I, because I saw the closed circuit sewer cam kind of, in a, going down a tube that was on the, on the backyard of DPW. And it would go straight to a target, and you would see it in a closed circuit television. Hearing the story, this little gizmo, this little guy, and that's his little face there, it's a head-on view, can travel 1,200 feet underground in the sewer pipes, in the lines, 12 feet down, but for 1,200 feet to observe obstructions, to send back images of have tree roots occluded the pipes, We have very old sewer pipes here, as every mill city basically does. So they're made out of vitreous, and some pipes have had, pebbles and things have washed in because there are breaks in the pipes up ahead. And wastewater basically goes, from everywhere, and eventually goes to the East Fitchburg wastewater treatment plant, which is showcased in the sequel. And that's an amazing place. It's if you like science, it's remarkable.
It is. There was an earlier version of this which I gave to my grandson, and he just loved it. Yeah.
Well, the next one is coming. We had to have a list of all the retirees of Department of Public Works to thank in the front cover. We also have to thank the Fitchburg Cultural Council for ongoing support of this very unusual STEM book project, and Ride More Truck Parts. They have stepped forward. They love what we do, like the STEM books. And Kathy and I are also working on a children's book, and we're working on a pet name book, and we're kind of trying to roll things out like a couple of times a year.
A children's book. Have you thought about what the storyline might be?
Yes, it's going to be about, basically it's going to be the variations of autism as told through a small group of children having an adventure. And how they behave and what happens to them and how they interact with each other and the world. And this is really in the just sort of like gaseous state. It's not a planet yet. But the one that's sort of coming together, and it's really fun, is the best pet name book ever. So we're going to have a pet name book on, you need a name for your pet. Here are these sections, and they're all different, names and what the meaning is. And there are versions of this kind of a book, but this will be really entertaining.
Oh, that's cool. That sounds great. Well, you're a very busy lady, I know, but I thank you for coming by to talk with us today. And I hope you come back again soon and let us know what else is going on in your world. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me, Eileen. Great job as host. I love this show. I recommend it, and I'm so glad you're doing it.
Thank you. So that's it for today. I think it was a pretty exciting show. If you want to find out what's going on with the Fitchburg Cultural Council, you can go to the city website, Fitchburg City website, and look up the Cultural Council. There's a calendar there, and there are a lot of interesting events. Most of them are free. It will make for a fun summer and fall for you. One thing that's coming up this Friday is going to be the Thurston Consort Chamber Music Orchestra at 7:30 at Rollstone Church. Come and hear this marvelous orchestra and look at this beautiful 150-year-old church. Thank you very much.